This program, share with us your thoughts and your views on exactly what we shall be running by you this day. You can also use our SMS platform, that's 21222, and we will be in a position to appreciate and read out your feedback in the course of and at the tail end of this particular program. We continue our conversation right here in studio. It's all about the upcoming 2019 population and housing census and some of the issues that the Kenya National Bureau of Statistics, together with the Ministry of Finance and National Planning, have been in a position to articulate to citizens this far. A lot of questions being raised. For example, a gym. The whole exercise as it has been planned. Bars and recreational facilities will remain closed on Saturday. Clearly, it has not gone down well within the minds of Kenyans, but is it a move that is necessary to facilitate the proper conduct of this exercise?
Remember that census is about the head count. We are not just doing an estimation. We are not trying to do an approximation. We are doing a head count of the people. And if we have people intoxicated in bars and places like that, and I've seen a lot of Kenyans saying, if I'm away and my wife is in the house, she can say what not.
Give the information.
What about individuals who do not have wives, like some people in the studio? You know, what will happen? What will happen to those individuals? When they're not in their houses, what will happen is that no one is there to say that they belong to that house. Okay. So the whole exercise is meant to ensure that we have people in their houses, number one, that we have a head count of every single individual, but also that in the accuracy of the data that we're giving, so that we do not have people use, because there's a time limit to this exercise. If I'm having a conversation with someone who's intoxicated, if the exercise is supposed to take 30, it might take an hour because we need to take a lot more time discussing these issues with them. So the whole point of Matiang'i saying that bars should be closed, it's to ensure that we have people in their houses, we have people in their homes, conducting the exercise in a timely manner, in an efficient manner, and also the quality of the data that we are receiving is back. But this points to the poor civic education that has been done around this issue. Because the reason why we're having all these questions is because we've just done poor civic education around it. People do not know why it is important to be counted. People do not know why it is necessary for them to be in their houses when they're being counted.
Is it necessary for people to travel? Because that is still a concern we've seen out there. We've even seen members of parliament telling people, if there is a way you cannot be counted in Nairobi, go back to your Mashinani area and be counted from there. Is there any logic and sense to that? There
is political logic to it. And the political logic is, remember that census is not just a tool of, it's a tool of resource allocation. But resource allocation, if you boil down to it, is a political ideology. So if people go back to Mashinani to be counted, it means in Kisumu County, for instance, where I come from, if there are 1 million people, if I go back to my county, they'll count 1,000,001 people. All right. So when a resource allocation is happening, it should be allocated to 1,000,001 people instead of just 1 million people. So that helps in that particular instance. But remember, the politicians also use the census data when it comes to elections. That is how we decide who exactly are we going to build coalitions with, who are we going to work with. So if we know that in a particular region, this is the number of people in that region, this is the number of voters in that region, it becomes a lot more easier to people to do that. That's why you're hearing, for instance, conversations right yesterday, politicians coming out and saying, we want the data to be accurate unlike last time. They're saying, we want you to tell us how many of our people we have back in Mashinani so that we can know how to make political realignment. So it makes political sense to ask people to go back home, but it makes zero sense on people's pockets for them to travel back home.
You know, Musalia Mudavadi had this to say about the census, and at this particular moment when of this reference that he made, because he made reference to the year 2009, and at that particular time he was the Deputy Prime Minister, and this is what Musalia Mudavadi had to say, that we do not want to see what happened in 2009 when figures were cooked, forcing President Mwai Kibaki to order a fresh exercise in some regions. How do we protect that from happening? As much as there's been so much confidence about the system going digital, but we know our experience with servers in this country. So how do we ensure credibility has been achieved at the end of the day?
You know, one of the things that Musalia just fell short of saying is that even the whole concept of tyranny of numbers was a result of the doctoring or not of those particular census data. How do you protect ourselves against that? It's one, the people responsible, which is KNBS, rising above board and saying that this is in as much as politicians would want to use this and just delinking it from politicians and saying this is an issue where we want to plan for the next years, for the next 10 years of our country. We want to know how many of our people do we have. If we have 50 million people, we want to know where do we need to build hospitals, where do we need to build schools, where do we need to build roads, where do we need to pipe water and take electricity to. That is the main purpose. So the only way that we can protect our data is the people involved and the management of this particular exercise rising above board in the politics of the day and not focusing, delinking the politicians from it. And I hope that the president actually has allowed those in charge to actually take charge and is shielding them from all the political pressure that might arise out of it. Because that was the whole reason why we had issues that happened in the Northeastern, for instance, where we had to reorder that, let them do the counting again. Yes.
Do you agree with what Bungoma Senator Moses Wetangula had to say about the upcoming census, that limited information has been given to the public in as far as this exercise is concerned? I
totally agree with him. I consider myself to be slightly aware of things that go on in this country. But even where I sit, I have all the information that I have is information that I have sought out to get. None of it
as a person.
None
of it has come to you.
None of it has come to me. So there's been very little, and as I said at the beginning, it points to the poor civic education that has gone around this issue. For instance, how are we going to ensure that other people are not taking advantage of this process? The security apparatus around it. People do not even know who is doing the census, who's not doing the census. What's the color lineage? How do I get to know that you are? Is there a card that they're going to produce? People do not know that information. It is information that is available, but people do not know it. So such processes is that, for instance, if you live in the city, you're not going to open your house to anybody. But we have people who could take advantage of the process and do exactly that. People are asking themselves, if they come to my house, how exactly should how should that conversation go? How long should that conversation take? So there's a lot that's going on around, and the public is not educated properly. And maybe they did not see the need to educate the public around it. And that is sad, because people need to know when you're conducting such an exercise, there need to be money allocated aside for just civic education.
Or maybe we need to be proactive enough to sort this information ourselves.
Being proactive enough is true, that people need to be proactive. That is a duty, okay, and that is a responsibility. But you see, as much as citizens have a duty, the government also has a duty. So the duty cannot be on just one side. If I'm sorting out this information, it should also be available. Where is the website? Tell me there's a website you can go to so that you can find this information. Tell me that there will be a program running on TV at 8 to 9 p.m. to tell you more about the census. So that then it becomes my duty to tune in to K24 so that I can watch that particular information. So duty cannot fall on just one side. It has to be balanced on both sides.
Has to be balanced on both sides. And we've had the regional administration in the country in the course of yesterday just try to brief the residents on exactly what security measures they have undertaken to ensure that the upcoming census is conducted in a flawless manner. Today, we expect the Cabinet Secretary, Interior and National Coordination, that is Dr. Fred Matiang'i, to be giving a press briefing. Will he be touching on this particular issue? We've got our reporter, Robbie Omondi, who is following up on this story. And in the course of this particular show, he will be in a position to brief us on exactly what we can expect. Now, on the split of your screen, this particular hour are images that we are getting from Holy Family Basilica. This is the venue where the memorial service commemorating the death of the founding president of the Republic of Kenya, that is Mzee Jomo Kenyatta, will be happening. Earlier on, we've had the first family at the Kenyatta Mausoleum laying wreath on the grave of the late president, and definitely we interacted with our reporter Daniel Kariuki during the first half of the show. And what he basically told us is that one of the litmus tests, even as the nation marks this particular event, will be the call for unity and cohesion in the country. Will it go beyond the handshake? Because one of the issues, or one of the key passions for the founding president, was unity and cohesion of the people. 41 years down the line, what has been the quality of lives of Kenyans ever since? Have we taken steps towards development? Have we taken steps, positive steps forward? And what are some of the issues that we can focus on? What are some of the issues that we can ponder about even as we commemorate this particular anniversary. The president, that is Uhuru Muigai Kenyatta, is expected at the Holy Family Basilica any time from now, together with the mother to the president, who is the widow of the founding president, that is Mama Ngina Kenyatta, together with the larger Kenyatta family, are expected in this particular venue. And at such a time as now, Jim, I don't know what comes to your mind anytime it's August and we are commemorating the founding president. What usually comes to your mind?
For me, it has to be about the Harambee spirit. About the legacy of Kenyatta One, which was the nation pulling together, that we had come from a very difficult point in our lives, and urging the nation that let us pull together, let us bring our weight together and build this nation. And we saw that happening, the founding father, among the other founding fathers who were there with us, and they built a nation for 15 years that he was in charge until later on. What happened later on was that then he, declared our enemies, those poverty, those disease, there was illiteracy. And you've asked a very good question. 41 years later, after his death, are we still at the same places? I do not think. We've made significant strides. The illiteracy levels have gone down. We have more hospitals than we had back then. Of course, we have a bigger population now than we had back then. The access to education is more and more of our people are educated. More and more people are getting out of poverty as a result of that. Not as fast as we want it to be, but it is happening. We're making significant strides.
Slow but sure.
And that is one of the things that as a people we have to learn to do. We have to learn to appreciate instances where we have indeed made strides towards the right direction. Not blinding our eyes to the challenges that faces, like corruption, which has then crept in, which has then been a challenge for us to making faster strides, but just appreciating and saying, we are not where we were in 1978. We are not there. A lot has changed.
What of the quality of leadership, Jim? Because we've seen the president, the current president, that is, talk about the quality of leadership that is being given to Kenyans, talking about that selfless dedication, making reference to the leaders of the 60s and the 70s and how patriotism and nationalism was at the core of their leadership values. Flash forward to 2019. Have we had a disconnect in as far as the quality of leadership is concerned?
That's an amazing question. We had transformative leadership in the 60s and the 70s. They were, when you talk of leaders like Tom Mboya, you talk of leaders like the first president himself, they were leaders who took us from one spot, which was post-colonialism, and they shifted the nation. We had a republic, the birth of a republic after that. And they basically made the structures that we stand on their shoulders now. Everything that we have and everything that we have built it as a result of that sacrifice that they made. And there's a lot of sacrifice that most of them made. Some of them paid for it by their blood. Now, fast forward to today, leadership has become a commodity. It has become a tool of trade. And a lot of people are in this for business purposes. A lot of people are making money out of it. A lot of people are quitting their jobs, not to go and serve the people, not to go and transform their communities, but a lot of people are in it because they want to make money out of it. Now, here's the sad part, that we indeed have leaders in this country, but they just do not step up into political spaces. And the reason they do not step up into political spaces, number one, it's expensive to do that. But also, number two, they do not want to participate in political processes. So you've left crooks and thieves to participate in political processes, then the good people stand on the side and say, look at the kind of leaders that we have.
Isn't that then an indictment to the good people who stand by the sidelines and watch these things happen, these things that are, eating into the nation? Isn't that the fault of the good ones?
Yes, because we have a lot of them who write a lot of good English on articles, newspapers, and hashtags, and they're all over Twitter and Facebook. And they write beautiful things, and they have beautiful suggestions. But here's the thing. Twitter is not a policy platform. That is not a place where policy is made. Policies are made in Parliament, in the executive. That is where policies are made. And so if these good people do not step into those places, they can keep using their bundles. We can keep using our bundles. This is not just an indictment to them. This is an indictment to us, myself included. We can keep sitting here and saying all these nice things, but until good people step into places and positions of leadership, the bad people will keep having the day. And if they keep having the day, we cannot complain because we put them in those places. So participating in political processes, and especially for young people, in my opinion, is very crucial. That you have to participate in political processes, be involved in a political party, because the only way to political power in this country is through a political party. Of course, I know the Constitution gives provision for independent candidates, but being involved in those processes, that is how you end up at the higher and upper limits. So it is an indictment on especially the middle class, who we sit pretty and we feel comfortable complaining on the sides and saying this is not working, government is trash and whatnot. But what have you done about it? What's your contribution? Why are you not stepping up? If you're good enough, why are you sitting on the sides? Yes.
Calls for referendum, and most specifically amendment to Chapter 9 of the Constitution, meaning expansion of the executive to create more slots. And the perpetrators of this particular argument say that it's going to foster unity because more tribes will feel included in the executive. Is that the solution towards achieving cohesion and unity in the country?
It's wishful thinking. And the reason I say it's wishful thinking is because we have had numerous opportunities to foster unity in leadership, because we have at least 24 ministries in this country. If we were very, very serious about leadership, and those particular people who are calling for it would have ensured that in all those positions we have different tribes doing it. Some of them are leaders of political parties. The structures of their political parties, when you look at them, it's one tribe. So how do they want to convince us now that if we go for this particular referendum and expand the executive, that then for some reason and they add 4 more positions, then we're going to bring about national unity? It means you're going to create spaces for 4 individuals from 4 communities, maybe,
out of the 40-something.
Out of the 40-something. So national unity is something that we have to be intentional about it, but we have not. We have heads of parastatals, we have cabinet secretaries, CASs. If we are serious and genuine as a people and the leadership of this country about national unity, we need to see there, so that then we say, we have experimented with national unity, it is not working at that level, so let us increase spaces up at that level. But calls for referendum, I think at the end of the day it will boil to either we're going for a presidential system or a parliamentary system. That has to be the question that you put to the people, not just expanding the executive.
Well, and to what extent do those amendments touch on the lives of Kenyans at the end of the day? How will your life be, or the quality of your life improve? If at all, Chapter 9 of the Constitution is amended and we have an expansion of the executive, but that conversation has been inspired by what we expect from the Holy Family Basilica this day, as various leaders, address the gathering that will be at that particular venue in commemoration of the founding president of the Republic of Kenya, that is Mzee Jomo Kenyatta. From Harambee House this morning is the venue we expect a press briefing to be coming from anytime from now. The Cabinet Secretary, Interior and National Coordination, that is Dr. Fred Matiang'i, will be giving a press briefing from this venue. He is expected to touch on, among other things, the security system that has been, steered by the government when it comes to the upcoming Census 2019. Quite literally, the branding around this particular press briefing is Census 2019, count me in. And this is coming at a time when the nation is preparing for a census come Saturday, the 24th of August 2019. Bars to remain closed as from 5 p.m. on Saturday. And also, Cabinet Secretary Matiang'i did give a directive that be home by 6 on Saturday, so that you will be in a position to be counted. But of course, Kenyans, in giving a twist to everything that happens in the nation, one said that they need to be informed exactly what time they will be showing up, so that they know when to prepare supper, because they cannot pay taxes and feed government at the same time. So we shall be getting to Harambee House anytime from now, when the Cabinet Secretary is ready to address the nation. It's a conversation that we've been having right here in studio with Jim India right here with me. And Jim, even moving forward, we've had issues in Kangemi, for example.
Yeah.
This morning we're reporting of issues in Kilifi, in Naivasha too, where enumerators are saying that they will not engage in the exercise if at all their training fee has not been paid this far. How do we exactly now reconcile? Or we've not had government really talk about some of these issues. Yeah. So moving forward, what would be the right course of action?
So just be home by 6 p.m. This sounds like a mini curfew that is being imposed on us. I'm not sure why I should be home by 6 p.m. But nonetheless, this is not something that is new to us. Anytime that we have, even the IEBC officials, the clerks and all those people, we always have the same issue. Apparently, government has an issue with paying. If you've ever done business with government, you know that one of the things that you will be open to is your pay being delayed for a certain period of time. How government distributes money and disperses money, that happens all the time. But also, the people who have been, there are a lot of gatekeepers who end up stealing from government. And so as a result, taxpayers again have to go back into their pocket and we have to pay people because we initially paid, but someone stole that money. So we have to pay again and double pay them. Moving forward, these people gave their time to serve the nation. And we were just talking about the founding father of this nation. Mm-hmm. People gave their time to serve the nation. I do not know why else they gave their time to be enumerators and whatnot. They gave their time to serve the nation. So I will quote, just like the former Vice President Saitoti said, there comes a time when a nation becomes bigger than a man. And so the issue that's ahead of us is an issue of census, and it's an issue of national importance. So there comes a time when the nation becomes bigger than a man, and they have to put country first. That would be my advice to them, because government will delay paying. But ultimately, the government always pays. Mm-hmm.
At the end of the day,
the government always pays.
It will come through.
The government always
one
pays.
way or another.
Yes.
Now, this census comes also at a time when the Jubilee government has an agenda, the Big Four, that touches on affordable housing, manufacturing, universal health coverage, and food security in terms of planning, because these are issues that we've dealt with as a nation through since 1963. What do you feel should be priority when it comes to planning now moving forward to enable the government achieve this particular mandate?
So priority, of course, they have the Big Four, and you see this is the national population and housing census. Mm-hmm. So we are not just counting people, we're also counting how many houses we have, so that we see if you have 50 million people, how many houses are these 50 million people living in? Of course, priority for me, in my opinion, should be looking at the young people of this nation. What is, because we do not, the data around the youth of this country is scattered everywhere. Nobody is so sure, anyone you talk to, including the Kenya National Bureau of Statistics, is sure about how many youth do we have in this country, what is the percentage. So once we have that, it's how do we make intentional plans towards job creation? Do we have policies that ensure that we have investors coming in? That for me has to be the key. Putting money in the pockets of the young people of this country and giving them that ability to do that. If it's skilling them, how do we ensure that we have more technical, vocational institutions to skill these young people, to enable them to have skills to start their own entrepreneurships? So that has to be the priority. Then after that, we can talk about housing, because we cannot talk about affordable housing when people have no money in their pockets to afford those very affordable houses. So number one, let's make sure that the young people of this country, who will be the ones investing in these houses, have money in their pockets to invest.
All right, Jim, thank you so much for that. And an update we are getting from Nakuru is that there is a peaceful demonstration that is currently ongoing following the killing of David Wachira alias Kamlesh of Biceps Limited. And this is where the residents are protesting what they call laxity of the law enforcers, despite CCTV footage showing 6 men killing Wachira and dragging his body. They feel that the law enforcers have not responded to this in the right way. So let's listen into what's happening in Nakuru.
Wachira akizikwa kesho, itakuwaje? Inaweza kuwa underhouse, atasaulika, na itakuwa kama kawaida, kama mambo yote ya kawaida. Na kesho tuko na uoga juu ya familia ya Wachira, juu ya familia zetu, juu kesho hatujui ni nani mwingine atafanywa kitendo kama hiki.
Asanteni sana. Kwa majina ni Solomon Ndungu Kabwe. Nilikuwa rafiki wa Wachira karibu sana. Na tuseme tangia hiki kitendo kilipofanyika, hatujapata habari nyingine yoyote ambayo ya kutujulisha ni nini kiliendelea. Na hawa watu wote wako hapa kutafuta haki. Kwa sababu kama huyo mwenzangu vile amesema, leo ni huyo investor amekufa na umesikia ameajiri zaidi ya watu 500 na wengine indirect wale wana benefit na washira ni wengi sana. Kwa hivyo ndivyo tunasema haki itendeke. Kwa sababu hawa askari lazima wanajua wakora wote wale wako kwa town. Kwa hivyo ndio tunawaambia kule wako wawatafute wawatoe. Kwa sababu hatutaki kesho kusikia kwamba kitendo kingine kama hiki kimefanyika. Ndivyo tunasema ya kwamba tutasimama na jamii ya washira, tutasimama na hawa wafanyikazi wote ili tuone haki imetendeka. So what we are doing is this. Tunataka kupatia postmortem serikali na ama maafisa relevant authority wafanye juhudi lolote. Kesho kabla tuzike washira, tunataka kusikia kwamba angalau mtu mmoja ameshikwa. Hauwezi kuniambia wiki imeisha moja na sisi tumekuwa watulivu na hatujasikia hata mtu mmoja ameshikwa. So we are saying, can they hurry up the investigation, tuone ya kwamba haki imetendeka. Ndiposa tumekusanyika hapa solidarity, kwa sababu huyo mtu ametusaidia sana. Hawa mama ungeona vile walikuwa akilia huku, kwa sababu wengi saa hii hawajui watoto wao, na walikuwa tu wakienda kulilia washira wanaambiwa shikani pesa watoto wenu warudi shule. Washira ame support more than 50 children wako university na secondary na kule kwingine. Hao watu wote nani watawasomesha? Ndivyo tunasema ya kwamba haki itendeke na security iapliftiwe hapa Nakuru na mahali pote. Kwa sababu hata kama anasemekana hangejulikana whether it's inside or whatever job, askari wafanye kazi yao. Ni kweli. Kwa hivyo sisi
That is exactly what is happening in Nakuru as of now, and we've had that discussion around the upcoming 2019 population and housing census and some of the key areas that the government will be focusing on as they conduct this exercise will be population characteristics, labor, ICT, disability, education, livestock, agriculture, housing conditions and housing amenities. It is the 8th in the country's history, the 6th since independence, and the 1st under the 2010 Constitution. So expect detailed coverage on this particular exercise right here at K24 TV. For now, we need to take a break. When we return for the second hour, the DPP orders an arrest of the directors of Njoroge breweries. We shall be looking into that as well as much more right here on the show.